Hi everybody, this is Commerce Specialist. This video is for all those who are studying a professional certification, any of these, or you have already studied them and you have failed in one of the parts or one of the papers and you are struggling to pass. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what are the common mistakes you need to avoid. Stop making these mistakes. Because professional certification is a different ball game. It's not an academic qualification like a bachelor's or master's or a PhD degree. Professional certification is different, so you got to have a different and the right approach. The very first mistake is students have a huge gap between completing the syllabus and sitting in the exam. What you should do ideally is, if you have finished the syllabus in January, maximum give yourself 1 month to prepare, to revise, to review everything what you have done, and then sit in the exam. The bigger the gap between finishing the syllabus and sitting in the exam and attempting the exam, the higher the probability that you will not be successful. Why? Because you tend to forget things. Human mind is designed in such a way that it takes information on first in, first out basis. So the longer the time period between finishing the syllabus and attempting an exam, the highest is the chances that you may not succeed. Number 2, exam questions. I've seen students reading the textbook very religiously and attempting few questions which are within the chapters. For all professional students, whether you are doing your ACCA, CMA, CA, CIMA, CPA, what is recommended is you do the revision kit questions, the exam data bank questions, more than you read the book. Why? Because those are the questions you will encounter in your exam, not reading a chapter or a paragraph. It is equally important, but focus should be on doing the exam type questions as much as possible. I completed exam type question thrice before sitting into the exam. And I'm giving you my experience as a student. When I sat in these sort of exams, what happened? When I look at the question, I'm reading half the question and I know what is the answer. Why? Because I've done those type of questions. The structure is not new to me. The way questions are, created, it's not new to me. The way the question looks like, the format is not new to me. What if you have not done exam type questions and you encounter them in your exam? They will haunt you. And even if the question is easy and simple and straightforward, you will not be able to attempt it. You will think that there is some techniques or twist and turn in the question. Actually, it is not. So please do the revision kit questions, exam data bank question as much as possible, as frequently as possible until you sit in the exam. The next important thing is prioritizing the topics. Now, for any professional qualification, there are topics which you will not be able to understand or master 100%. That's okay. So I'm just giving an example. Let's say in your syllabus, there are total 80 topics. Out of 80 topics, you are very good at 75 of them. So my advice to you is focus on these 75 topics, develop these ones, master them, be very perfect on them. In the end of your study period, if you get time, try to understand the remaining 5 topics. Why? Because you still pass your exam when you're doing the 75% of the topics right. Don't make it a matter of ego that I am going to master these. By the way, you will never be able to master those because we all are different. I may understand linear programming very easily. I may not understand capital budgeting. Somebody will understand capital budgeting properly, may not understand, capital gain tax. So the thing is, whichever subject, whichever part, whichever paper you're preparing in, if you look at the whole syllabus, there will be some topic which really bothers you. You can keep them for the end. Another mistake which is very common students do is when it comes to resources. They're using books which are not updated. They're using old resources which are not current. Professional exams are all about currency. Make sure the resources you are using is current. For example, one of the papers I'm teaching now is F6 taxation. We are talking about Finance Act 2021. So if you have an old book, even if you understand the concepts well, your calculations will go wrong because you are not tested on the old tax rates. You're talking about new. Same goes for IFRS. I was surprised. I was talking to a student. The student was still talking about IAS 17 lease. IAS 17 is no more there. It has been replaced. So please, if you're using the resources, any books, any author, I'm not recommending or promoting any author here, make sure you have the latest resources. Now, another most repeated mistakes I've seen students doing is, if they fail in a particular paper, in a particular attempt, in a particular part of exam, they quit that certification. They think it's not their piece of cake. Actually, it is the other way around. All professional qualifications require you to have a minimum threshold of knowledge. If you, let's say you're starting as a common man, and then this is the required level of knowledge you need to have to pass the certification. Let me give you an important statistic. Of the last many years I'm into this profession, the number of students I've taught, the number of people I know in the professional fraternity, let me tell you, 95% of them has not passed their exams or particular paper in first attempt. They all have failed somewhere or the other in their professional journey, in a paper, in an exam part, but what makes them successful is they did not quit. I know so many people, even my professional colleagues, who have professional certifications. 95% of them have failed somewhere. Let's say if they were doing ACCA, twice or thrice they have failed in different papers. That's okay. Because once you qualify, nobody asks you how many times you failed. What they look at is you are a professionally certified qualified accountant. So failure is an integral part. I'm not saying that you are bound to fail, but 95% of the people do. Unless you are super genius, you are above average, you are very committed, you are very punctual, you are consistent, hard worker, there are many ingredients to it. If all that is there, then there is a possibility, yes, you will pass in first attempt. But please do not discontinue your qualification for the simple reason that you fail in a paper or two. Remember that. The next issue is saving money. Yes, I understand we all are price conscious. I've seen so many students studying from their neighbors, their uncles, their aunties, their friends. Why? Because either they may not charge them or they may charge them less. But the question to ask is, are they competent enough? Ask yourself. You may save money in the short run, but there is a huge damage done for your career and future. The seventh one, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this is the most important one. Do not do this mistake. Do not study with quacks. I'm sorry to use the word, but there are, unfortunately, in every field, there are quacks. There are people who don't have the specialist knowledge and they pretend to have one. I want you to study with a person who is fully qualified and experienced. I've seen in many coaching centers, institutes, colleges and universities, when you are pursuing a professional qualification, you have given a particular teacher. This teacher, this gentleman, this lady is going to teach you. By the way, they are teaching for the first time. And what is more, difficult for me to digest is they don't have the professional qualification, neither the experience of teaching professional students. So think about it. You're heading toward disaster. It's you whose future is at stake. You're paying money, you are investing time, you have all the rights to study with the competent right tutor. So if this is happening with you in any of the coaching center institutes, wherever you are studying, you have the right to ask for a competent, qualified and experienced teacher. Because I have seen, with due respect, again, with due respect to all other academic qualifications, for example, if I'm a PhD in accounting, I'm sorry, I'm not fit to teach CMAs, ACCAs, CPAs and CS because I have not gone through that journey. I have not been through all the syllabus. I may have accounting knowledge, but that is different. Teaching professional students is a different ball game. Please remember this. Next is experience versus qualification. Please understand this. All qualified individuals, you may have somebody teaching in your institution who are an ACCA qualified, CMA qualified, CA qualified, or any other qualification they have. The question is, are they a good teacher? I have many friends who are working in the industry. When asked, would you like to teach? They said, no, we cannot teach. We have understood, we have qualified, but we cannot teach. And an individual who's a good teacher, that's good. They have experience in teaching. The question is, are they qualified? So what you need to know is, your tutor, whoever is teaching you, has to be qualified, has to have experience of teaching, and obviously in the market, it's a small market, wherever you're studying, people know the names. Okay, this person is teaching, this person has experience, this person is qualified. Also avoid partly qualified and certified teachers. I've seen many people who are partly qualified. For example, ACCA just done few papers. Okay, if they're done their CMA or ICMA, cost and management accounting, they're partly qualified. If they are partly qualified, how can they qualify you? Please remember this. Nothing against anybody, but then this is a hard fact. We need to understand this. Your teacher has to be fully qualified, experienced in teaching, professional qualification. I hope you have noted that. Then we are talking about practical exposure. In most of the professional certification, there are topics, there are subjects, there are papers which should be taught only and only by a person who has practical exposure. For example, if I'm teaching audit, I've never been to an audit firm, I've never done auditing. How can I teach people what is practical auditing? If I'm teaching taxation, I have never calculated my own tax. I've never calculated or assisted a company calculating the tax. How can I teach you tax? If I'm the person who has only read books and passed the exams, and you think that the person can teach you practical core content, the answer is no, I'm sorry. For some papers, it's okay, but then you are going to become a professional. You need to have a person, to sum it up, has to be qualified, fully qualified, has to have experience of teaching professional students for a long time. You should not be an element of experiment. Now, people should not come and experiment on you. So your teacher has to be qualified, experience in teaching the same qualification, and should have the practical exposure of the industry. Only then that person can answer all your queries. The last one is important. As a student, you may choose big institutions, big universities, big colleges who are famous. This is one aspect. So if you're talking about opting to study any of these professional qualification in a top ranked university, top ranked college or institution, ask yourself a question. The institution and college or university is very reputed. What about the teachers who are teaching there? Are they experienced, qualified? Do they have the practical exposure? Or your money is only buying you the campus but not the expertise? So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found these information relevant and useful. If you have any other suggestions, please leave it in the comment section. If you like this video, please share it with the dear and near ones so that others can also benefit. Thank you so very much for your precious time.